Hi, Mario.
Hello.
Hey, where are you? You back?
Yes,
Oh, great. How was it? Must have been amazing.
great.
That's
Great.
good. That's good. So you were in Italy? That's where the Seder's were? The
Yeah,
program?
in Rimini.
Oh, nice.
It was very, very nice. Really.
That's good. It's like a real vacation.
Yes. Yeah,
That's
because we went to Milano, to Venice, to Rimini,
wow.
back to Milano and to Zurich.
Hey, guys.
Guys, so tomorrow we're going to learn at 5:30 at the shul.
Okay. Is there a shir tomorrow night? Navi shir?
Sunday night.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
We're back to Sunday night.
Okay.
Mario, you'll remind everybody for Sunday night at 8:00.
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome back, Mario.
Thank you.
Nun Gimel Amud Aleph. 53. Rebbe Savar Yesh Zika. The reason why Maimer takes effect because it sort of grabs onto the Zika. The Chlitza gets rid of the Zika. But Rabbanon Savri ain't Zika meikara. There is no Zika. But meikara ilu armala iskachli bezikas yavamin. If he would have said, be miskadish to me, bezikas yavami milo mahani, it would have worked. Hashtanami mahani. So when there's, even though they don't hold of Zika, it'll work because he's mekadish. Rav Shrevya Amar B'chlitza Ksheira, if there was originally a good chalitza, Ida Amar Leiskachli B'zikas Yavamin Kolam Lo Pligid Lo Mani. If a good chalitza got rid of the Zika and he would have said, be miskadish me with the Zika, there is no Zika, so it wouldn't have worked. Rather, here the machloikas is b'chlitza psula kamiflagi. Since the chalitza is a chalitza psula, maybe it won't get rid of the Zika. Narsav a chalitza psula poiteras. even though it's a chlitza psula, it will free her up still. Even though you need more action to be matir her to get married to somebody, but the Zika is weakened, and therefore he can't be miskadisher with Zika sayevamim. But umar savachlitza psulena puteres. So therefore, there's full Zika, and therefore there's of course when he says he's kachili b'Zika sayevamim, it'll work. Rav Ashi Amar kulam achlitza psulena puteres. Everybody knows that the chlitza psula will not get rid of the Zika. Rather, hacha b'yesh t'nai b'chlitza kamifli. Is there a conditional statement in the chlitza? Marsav yesh t'nai b'chlitza. That if you make a t'nai and the t'nai is not fulfilled, the chlitza goes away. Marsav ain't t'nai b'chlitza. You can't make a t'nai. Therefore, it doesn't go away, and therefore it wipes out the Zika. According to the other shot, it doesn't wipe out the Zika. Ravina Amar Diklama Yesh T'nai B'Chlitza. There is T'nai. But Hacha B'nai Kafel Kamifli. Do you need a double T'nai? Like the T'nai of B'nai Ruvain and B'nai Gad. I mean, if it works out like this, the T'nai is like this. If it doesn't work out like this, that means a double T'nai. Marsav being a T'nai Kafel. You do, in order for the T'nai to be effective, you need a double T'nai. Marsav lo being a T'nai Kafel, you don't need a double T'nai. Then the Baraisa said, Cholatz Vosam Maimer. We said after Chlitza, there's nothing. Or after Bila, there's nothing. V'nosan Gedu Baal. So V'nisli Nami Ein Achar Bia Klum. Why don't you say as well, just like after Chlitza, there's nothing. That means there's no, once the Chlitza gets rid of the Zika, any other further action has no halachic effect. Well, the same thing after you have Bia and you acquire her as a wife, whatever you do afterwards also doesn't have an effect. You have to add that. Just like Ein Achar Chlitza Klum, there's Ein Achar Bia Klum. He would rather talk about Chlitza, which matters her to marry anyone she wants. Then these double actions, when you do Maimer and then Ged, or Chlitza and then Maimer, whatever these double things, it works whether it's Echad Yevama Achas and Echad Shtei Yevamos, whether Reuven had one wife or Reuven had two wives. And this clearly shows that our Masnisin is Loike Ben Azai. The Tari Ben Azai Omer. Yesh Maimer Achar Maimer B'Shnei Yevamim V'Yevamim Achas. Maimer after Maimer will work if two women fell, if there are two brothers, and one woman. So let's say Shimon and Levi, they both gave her Maimer. So both of them will be Asr and her relatives. But the Ein Maimer Achar Maimer B'Shtei Yevamos V'Yavim Echad. With Reuven having two wives falling to one brother, Shimon, he also, after he gives Maimer to one of them, the other Maimer doesn't take effect. The sheet of Ben Azai. Kate said Maimer Lazu, B'Cholatz Lazu. How does that work? Lema Mesayle L'Shmuel, Do'amar Shmuel Cholatz L'Balas Maimer Lo Nifter Et Sarasa. According to Shmuel, that if he gave Chlitza to the Bailas Maimer, then the Chlitza is a Chlitza Psula, and the co-wife doesn't get freed with that Chlitza. You have to give her another Chlitza. And that's a Kashan Rav Yosef, who argued with him, who said that the other co-wife goes free with the Chlitza given to the one who got Maimer. So the Gemara says, Mik Tani Choyla. It doesn't give you mitzvahs say what to do. Cholatz Ktoni. It just describes the case, which was B'di'evet. It's not that he's chayiv to do it that way. Then the Bryce said, get Lazu, get Lazu. They still need Chlitza. Because the get doesn't do anything to the Zika. Lema Mesayle Rav Ravuna, Rav Ravuna Chalitza Psula, Tzricha Lechazra Kalachim. If the Chlitza is a weak Chlitza, you got to give the Chlitza to every other brother. It's not enough to one, and that seems to be supportive of what the Bryce has said. The Gemara says, "My tzrichos." The word tzrichos plural doesn't mean both of them need it. Tzrichos ta'alma meant these kind of women need it, but not that these two specific women need it. Get lezu v'cholatz lezu. He gave get to one and chlitza to the other. Lema Messiah l'shmuel v'tevet Rav Yosef. Again, it seems to be a kasha on Rav Yosef, who argues with Shmuel regarding that the chlitza is not going to pater the co-wife. So again, the Gemara answers miktani choylet. It says cholatz ktani, which is only b'diavad. Then cholatz v'cholatz, or cholatzin does anything, whatever happens afterwards has no halachic meaning. Listening nami and achar bia klum. Why don't you also say after bia there is no other action afterwards? Oh, by Ramadar, tani. You're right. You have to amend the brisa and say ein achar bia klum. He would rather only talk about the action that frees her up to get married to somebody else. Then the brisa says bein yavim echad l'shtei yevamos. There's nothing after chlitza. For example, you did chlitza and then maimer. That works whether there's Shimon only and two wives, or one wife and two brothers. So Bishma Rav Yochanan Damar Kula Beisa Balav Koid out. Rav Yochanan holds that once you give chlitza or a get, or certainly once you give chlitza, so all of the wives, even the co-wives, are usher with the lav of lo yivne. Remember, once you give chlitza, you cannot remarry her. You cannot decide change your mind. There's a lav of lo yivne, but that's not kares. So what about this? Reuven has two wives. He gives chlitza to one of the wives. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, you have a lav now of marrying either of them. Let's say you went ahead and slept with the co-wife.
Because doesn't the Tzara then have wouldn't she revert to a status of Eishesach?
So that's what Rav Yochanan's chiddush is.
Yeah.
Rav Yochanan holds that if Reuven had three wives, they're all considered one bias. So you give chlitza to one of the women. Now there's a lav of lo yivne to any of them. But the isser of Eishes Ach goes away. There's only now an isser of
lo yivne.
Lav of lo yivne. It's a huge thing.
So it's just a lav. It's just a lav. It's not an isser kares, like an erva.
Now, what's the nafkamina? The nafkamina is tfisa of kiddushin. If you makadesh one of those women, you'd have to give her a get because by an erva,
except Rabbi Akiva, right?
Except Rabbi Akiva. But we don't paskin like Rabbi Akiva. We paskin like the Chachamim that by Chayve Lavin there is tfisa, and therefore there would be no mamzeres if you lived with her, and there would be no kares if you lived with her. That's according to Rabbi Yochanan, and that's why there's no difference between Yavim Echad l'Shtei Yevamos, whether there's one wife or two wives. So Bishlam Rav Yochanan are Makula Beisa B'Lav Koi. So Itztrich Lashmi Inon, the Ein Kiddushin Toisin B'Chayve Lavin. Now, even though normally Kiddushin is Toifes, on this kind of lav of Lo Yivna, there's no Kiddushin. That's why if you did Maimer after Chlitza, there would be no Chalois. Because in this case, even though it's a lav, the Chiddush is, that's why even though it's not Kores, you have to give me the Chiddush that Kiddush is not Toifes with the co-wife, even though it's only a Chayve lav. But El Reish Lakish Tomer Kula Beisa B'Kores Koi. Reish Lakish doesn't hold Rav Yochanan. The other, he gives Chlitza to one, so that one woman that you gave Chlitza to, if you then went ahead and lived with her, you'd be a lav of Lo Yivneh. But according to Reish Lakish, if you lived with the other wives, that's Eishes Ach, not B'Mokem Mitzvah, and you'd be Chayiv Kares. So then I don't need Itztrich Lashmina, the Ein Kiddushin Toisim B'Chayiv Krisis. I didn't need to be told this Chiddush that that the Kiddushin is not Chal. Everybody knows that Kiddushin is not Chal by Kares. That's the Gemara's Kasha. According according to your own svara, seifa diktoni, baal v'osa maimer. One of the examples was you did be'ilah, that you did maimer. I don't get it. And you said that there is nothing after be'ilah will work, there's no halachic ramification. She's your wife. So what do you mean you gave maimer to your wife? Itzrich lashmin and dein kiddushin toisen beishes ish. You could ask the same question there. Everybody knows there's no kiddushin toifus by neshes ish. So rather, don't be medayik the way you are. The brisa was structured just stylistically, editorially. I did the Tana Ataras Yavam Echad V'Yavam Achas. The Tana talked about one brother with one wife. Tana Nami Shtei Yavam is V'Yavam Echad. V'Adi the Tana Shtei Yavam V'Yavam Echad. Tana Nami Shtei Yavam. Gave you all the parameters, even though there's no chiddush. Even though there's no, you can't ask this question. Oh, what kind of chiddush is it? It's just a literary type of brisa which gave us all of the possibilities. Nun Gimel Amud Beis. Chalas v'asa maimer, and then gave get or bila. So after chlitza, nothing works. Bishma chalas v'asa maimer itztrich. I needed the chiddush of that maimer doesn't work after chlitza sanketai to kamina. Maybe nigzer maimer de basar chlitza or to maimer de kamei chlitza. Maybe we should make a gzeira that the maimer has effect after chlitza because it has effect prior to chlitza. So fine. There's no gzeira that if you gave maimer to the other tzara, it doesn't have an effect. You can still marry her relatives. Why did you have to tell me that if I do chlitza and then I give a get, that there's no action? I know that there's no action. You gave chlitza, and there's no reason to be goyzer. So the Gemara says, "Ula tameich aim sefer baal v'asa maimer." You did be ila then maimer, or baal v'nasan get. So bishma baal v'nasan get itztrich. So I needed to know that because saketach nigzer get the basar be ila. Maybe we should say the get. She is a grusha. Or to get the kami, but like get prior to be'ilah. Kamashman deloy gazrinan. We don't make a gzeira. In that case, avabal vasa maimer lamali. But why do you say there's no reason to be goyzer maimer after be'ilah? Ella, I did it. Tana chos vasa maimer. Tana nami bal vasa maimer. Again, don't be. There's no chiddush here. The Tana wanted to list all cases. The I did the boiler misli bal v'nasan get. Tana nami choletz v'nasan get. Then the Baraisa says, Bisman, when Be'ilah happens first, nothing, there's no halachic ramification to anything done after it. But in the middle or after, there are things that can happen. Masisin deloki haitana. Our mission is not like the following Tana, the Tanya. Abba Yosi ben Yochanan ishu shleim oimer mishum Rab Meir. Achas Be'ilah v'achas chlitza. If you do be'ilah chlitza as the first action, that closes the door on all other actions. But if you did something else first, then there are, because these will be chlitza psulas and be'ilah psulos, because you can't complete the act because you started some problem initially, and therefore in the end it's shalosh machlokes bedover. It's a three-way machlokes tanoim. Tanakaba bia the ikala migzer because of be'ilah, and there might be reason to be goyzer after it's gazrina. But chalitza, which we said the lekala migzer lo gazrina, that's the Tanakaba. Rav Nechemia saver bia nami lekala migzer. There's no reason to be goyzer by bia either. Udika amrit, that which you offered ligzer bia achar aget mishum bia achar chalitza. Maybe you should be goyzer and say that the bia is not just the bia's nus after get, because of the bia prior to chlitza. So kivan the chlitza daraisa made a yodi. You don't need a gzeira. Everybody knows chlitza is daraisa. Udika amrit ligzer biachar maimer mishum biachar bia. Maybe you should be goyzer biachar maimer because of the biachar bia. Kivan the bia daraisa ha made a yodi, same thing. People know that bia, it can be koine daraisa. Fabi yosef bechalan sevelak rabbanon the gozer bia. The gozer chlitza mishum bia. He's goyzer no matter what. Therefore, he doesn't as machalik between chlitz and bia at all. Hadalach Rabbi Gamliel, Hadalach Rabbi Gamliel, Hadalach Rabbi Gamliel. Nun Gimel Amud Beis Perak Shishi. Habal Yavimto. Now you have relations with Reuven dies. Shimon sleeps with the woman. Bain b'shogeg. He didn't know that was his wife. He didn't know that was the brother's sister. He thought it was another woman. Or maybe he thought she was his wife or another woman. Bain b'mezid. Meaning he was not miskaven lemitzvah. He was miskaven liznus, says Rashi. Bain ba'oinus, by accident. Now we don't know what that means. Somebody maybe has a gun to your head and is telling you to have relations. Bain baratzon, or through his own action. Afilu hu shogeg v'hi mezid. And let's say he's a shogeg, but she knows it's l'shem, and it's l'shem. Or let's say he doesn't know who the woman is, and she's a znus. Who made it? He wants it for znus v'hi shogeges. He doesn't know. She doesn't know who he is. Who anus v'hi lo anusa. He's forced and she's not. Or he anusa v'hu lo anus. Echad ha'ma'arav echad ha'goymer. Whether you have full penetration or you just insert the head. In all these cases, kana. She's his wife. The yibum takes place. And there's no difference between bia kedarka and bia shaloi kedarka. Vaginal penetration or anal penetration, either one. That's considered a bia that acquires her. Now, similarly, since you're talking about bia, any prohibited relation in the Torah, opsulos, or any bia.
Why would that be a kiyum of bia? I mean, not of bia, of yibum. Yibum is liyabem, to build. There's no,
No, the yibum means intercourse, period. And therefore could be full penetration or even partial penetration. That's the act of bia acquired.
I would have defined it, or I've thought of it all these years, of the act of penetration in order to potentially procreate.
But it's not correct, because bia.
I know, I see it's not
Bia
correct.
means
I'm
penetration,
shocked.
even rectal anal penetration.
Right,
is
I'm
bia.
shocked.
Yeah, but it wasn't normally Shiloh Kedarko not considered bio?
No, that's always considered bia.
News to me.
You're allowed to bia kedarka, bia she'ena kedarka it's all permitted. A husband in normal relations, bia kedarka, bia shelo kedarka, it's all the same. And it acquires by yibum. And this Mishnah is going to tell us, if you're going to live with any of the ariases, any of these bios is going to cause you to have capital punishment. You violated the bia with whether it's full penetration or whether it's just insertion of the head. Or for example, there's a bia be'isser, which is going to passel this woman to marry to a, it's going to make her a halachic zona. Right? Rashi, mishum zona. Like Almana LeKohen Gadol. Almana lives with a Kohen Gadol, so she's a halachic zona. Grusha v'chalutz LeKohen Hedyet. Now, remember, a grusha is already cannot eat truma from her father's house if she was a grusha, if she was a bas kohen. But let's say as a grusha, and then she becomes a halachic zone. She can't marry a kohen, but she can still eat truma from her father's house because she has not been nichlal. The bias biznus will cause her to become a halala. Rashi says, "Grusha mifsala mitruma de beinasa im hibas kohen de shavi halala." That the bia of a grusha to a kohen. That means, let's say a woman is a grusha. Okay. if she's a bas kohen, she can still eat truma from her father's house. She can't marry a kohen, but she's not a chalala yet. Now, if a kohen has relations with her, now she's a zona, and it makes and she becomes nichlal from eating truma in her father's house. So what? Almana l'kohen gadol grusha v'chalutza l'kohen hedyot mamzeres unesil Yisrael. Right? Israel has a mamzeres has relationship with the Yisrael, so she becomes a halachic zona. Bas Yisrael mamzer unesin psula. She becomes if a mamzer has relations with a regular girl, she becomes a zona, and therefore can't marry a kohen. V'lo chilik ben bia lebia, and it doesn't make a difference what kind of bia was done to her. So the Rambam says, "Kol bia sheyesh bo isur mishum erva, o bia sheposels isha min hakahuna, ein evdel in ze ma'isa bia ba'oinus or b'rotzim b'zod b'shkoigeg, makes no difference, whether it's kedarka or shaloi kedarka." And even when he just places the head inside, beginning penetration, as long as the bia was by a male 9 years old or older, and the girl has to be 3 years old or older. So the Gemara said, afilu shogeg. My afilu. So the Gemara answers lo maboy kamer. It's in the structure of not only this, but this also. Lo mabai hu shogeg v'hi kamachavna lemitzvah. Not only in a case, he doesn't know who the woman is. He thinks it's his wife. And she's machavin to the mitzvah. Or inami hu mezi. He wants nus. V'hi kamachavna lemitzvah. El afilu hu shogeg v'hi mezita. Even he's a shogeg and she's mezi. The tarvayu lo kamachavna shem mitzvah. Even when they're both not having kavanah. Afilu hachi kana. Even so, the yibum takes place. Both of them could be in those statuses, the yibum would still take place. Now comes a urologic sugya. The Gemara wants to know, what did it mean that a guy had relations ba'oinus? A bunch of goyim came, put a gun to his head, and said, have relations with this woman. Can't work, says Rava. A person's not going to be able to maintain his erection if he's being forced. If he's erect and penetrating, that's only because he wants to do it. You cannot do that if you're being forced to do it. That's what the Gemara says. Ela b'yashan. The Gemara says, what's an oinus? He was asleep and he had an erection. During REM sleep, 4 times at night, a person has rapid eye movement sleep, and you're in a physiological state that leads to an erection. You're not dreaming about it. It has nothing to do with it's physiology. At the time that you have REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, there's certain activities in your body, hormones, etc., going around that it causes an erection. So, for example, people wake up in the morning with an erection. It has nothing to do with he's going to have to urinate. It has nothing to do with anything. It so happens that morning the person had REM sleep right before he woke up. Therefore, he had an erection during REM sleep. It has nothing to do with anything else. Now, we dream during REM sleep. Usually we don't dream when we're not in REM sleep. REM sleep is 30 to 45 minute periods. There's 4 periods like that during the night. So yeah, but it's not the content of your dream that's leading to the erection. Sometimes the erection can cause your dream to whatever. But ha'onis potter mikol oinish. Bein Rambam, bein mi malchus, bein mi korban. Kol shekein monish misa. V'oinish ze amurak b'niveles. So, oinus rachmana patri, if a woman is raped, she's an erva, she's not put to death. There's no defense in Beis Din, I was forced. You're going to be put to death because you can't maintain erection to penetrate if someone's got a gun to your head. You did it because you wanted to. If you shein kishrei eladas, Kosovo arrived shesh shoshel earnest gam beboil, Kigon shniskavin lebias heter v'chziku ala erva. Ravid learns a little different. He says he had kavana lebias heter. Uvimikra nodir kazeh nira shigama Rambam maskim. Okay. Have to learn the Kesef Mishnah there.
All right, good Shabbos, everybody.
Okay, we'll see
5:30.
tomorrow, everybody, at